My husband didn't tell me he was texting this woman for months. Now he's saying I'm being ridiculous. We live off of a busy road, and few months ago over the summer there was a big commotion outside our house. We go outside and there was an older man, 50s, 60s, and a young woman, 20s, who had just gotten into an accident. The man has rear-ended her as she was slowing due to the car in front of her turning. The man had gotten out of his car and was screaming at her. She was clearly really upset. My husband, 37, ran outside and confronted the man. We brought her inside and let her stay there until services came. After I'll call her Jessica here, left, that was the last I saw or heard of her. My husband never mentioned her again. He never mentioned texting or calling her, until my younger son mentioned something about seeing Jessica that day at the park. When I asked my husband about it, he said yeah, they had run into each other at the park and they had just chatted for a few minutes. This was about 4 weeks ago. Last night, my husband was in the shower and a text message from Jessica popped up. I opened it and saw that they had been texting for months, literally since the day the accident had happened. None of the messages are outright bad. The first messages are him texting her to check on how she was feeling, her saying she was okay, thanking him, etc. Then he asks her more about her personal life, if she likes her job, family, etc. The most nefarious out of any of them was when he was texting her one day and she said it was her birthday and she was going out with her friends. There was one point where he said, "Don't make too many bad choices," and she replied that she generally didn't. He said he could see her having a wild side, and eventually the conversation reached the fact that she was a virgin. Attached screenshot. After this conversation she switches it to something else. This convo happened a few weeks ago. I confronted my husband. He said he didn't see why it was a big deal and that he hadn't said anything wrong. He had began texting her to make sure she was doing okay, and then they began a friendship. He said he didn't know he had to tell me every time he made a friend. I tried to explain to him that first of all it's not appropriate for a married man with children to be talking about 23-year-old's virginity. He said it was only strange if I was accusing him of something and passed that it was just a conversation between friends. I told him that it was completely suspicious that this was a woman who had come to our home. Why wouldn't he mention that he was continuing to be in contact with her? He said he didn't see the big deal and I was just looking for things to be mad at since I didn't find anything bad enough in his messages. This is the first time I've ever gone through his phone in 12 years of marriage. And it was because that message popped up. He thinks I'm being completely ridiculous and has now went and woken up both of our boys so he can take them out of the house. No, he is being manipulative and this is totally inappropriate. He hid this from you. He had multiple opportunities to casually mention her. Remember Jessica from the accident by our house? Ran into her at the park today. Or way before that. Checked up on Jessica. She seemed so upset the other day. Spouses talk to each other about people in their lives. Stuff comes up. It's natural. Lying by omission is still lying. I hear about my so's new friends. Although they tend to be male. He meets people with common interests through his side job, neighbors, sometimes other circumstances. But I know of these people because he mentions them in casual conversation. My ex used to disappear with our daughter whenever we had a dispute. It's manipulative AF. I wouldn't trust this situation at all. My husband and I met young woman through a similar interaction. And he's a helpful, caring guy, so he also immediately jumped into savior mode. The woman was upset and we spent some time chatting with her and making sure she was okay. Like your husband, mine was worried about the woman afterwards and wanted to check up on her. But what he did was say to me, "I'm gonna text her to make sure she got home okay. Can I add you to the text chain so she doesn't think I'm a creep?" That's the normal, non-cheater pants way to handle this. Your husband's behavior is super sus. He is gaslighting you. You know him, yourself, and the dynamics of your relationship. You know what is appropriate and inappropriate behavior for that very dynamic. If this is out of line with that, you need to sit him down and get honest answers. "I'm so sorry you are going through this." But they didn't begin a friendship. He was the one contacting her. And then he kept engaging to try to know more about her. He actively pursued her. And if it was nothing bad or not a big deal, why didn't he mention he'd been in contact with her when your son brought up the park meeting? Which was no accident. Either they met up on purpose, or your husband is creeping on her and knew she'd be there, so he took your son there to have a valid reason to be there. But you won't change what happened by being upset. Because he didn't get into her pants because she doesn't want to. Doesn't mean that he wasn't trying. He is sending major creep vibes. That comment, "You have the power to get whatever you want," something like that. He clearly is into her saying stuff like that. No doubt he is pursuing her, and it seems that she is not ready or doesn't want to be with him. But doesn't cut him off either. Very risky situation and obviously emotional cheater. This is very suspicious behavior. Get her number from his phone and call her. Be straightforward and ask her if there is anything going on between her and your husband. Let her know that until today you didn't even know they had kept in contact, and you find this worrisome. Your husband is attempting to start an affair. He is attracted to this young girl. Please read Not Just Friends by Shirley Glass. You need to nip this in the bud. He sounds controlling if after he has been confronted that he grabbed the children and took them away for the day. Read up on Darvo. How many other friends has he made that you don't know about? Since he didn't know he had to tell you? Whether Jessica knew it or not at the beginning, your husband began an emotional affair with her. He has lied by omission, as he was fully aware it was inappropriate and disrespectful. The excitement and probably infatuation has now crossed into arranging meetings with her. He is cheating on you, and you now need to decide whether you want to further confront him on this. Gather more evidence or find some time and space to think about your options. Absolutely inappropriate. He's being a creep to Jessica and an a-hole to you and y'all's family. Now, he's gaslighting you. He's testing the waters to see if she'd be receptive to his flirting, then he'll push it to see if she'd be receptive to more. It sounds like he was looking to cheat. The park was clearly not an accidental meeting. He was testing the waters with the "I bet you have a wild side" comment, and trying to introduce a sexual element to the conversation. Don't let him gaslight you. This is inappropriate. And he's had plenty of opportunities to say, "Hey, remember Jessica? I texted to see how she was and saw her at the park the other day." Does he have a habit of gaslighting you when he's caught in the wrong? 'Cause he's doing a very slick job of trying to make you feel like you are a nut job for finding. This is inappropriate, shady, and crossing lines. Which it all is, by the way. Manipulative tactic number 2: waking your kids up immediately after and ushering them out of the house for the rest of the day. Frankly, feels like a low-key threat. You're going to have to deal with this, no doubt, but I think you may need backup. 'Cause he is not fighting fair. Also, WTF are Italian chocolates? Swiss. Sure. Belgian. Makes sense. German. Okay. But Italian? I'd be so pissed. Absolutely inappropriate, and he already lied about her to you, saying they ran into each other at the park. No, that's disrespectful. Your kid knows her well enough to casually refer to her by her first name. How often is your husband going to the park with her for this level of familiarity to develop? Would Op's husband be fine if she suddenly started going to the park with a guy he didn't know but that his kids know on sight by their first name? I mean, Op doesn't have to tell him about every friend she makes, right? Husband is openly pursuing another woman and the conversation is escalating in intimacy. He's using his time with his kids to facilitate these encounters, and is downplaying his intense interest as friendship. If he were really just friends, he wouldn't be treating the other woman like a secret from his spouse. I'd be furious and think it's completely inappropriate. He's a dick and suspicious. If he himself didn't believe it was inappropriate, he wouldn't have hid it from you. It sounds like you're not going to be able to get him to admit this is wrong, or probably to agree to end this friendship. The question is, what are you going to do about it?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. ThrowRAcadie is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.